This is what Minecraft normally looks like, and this is what Minecraft looks like in virtual reality with my new mod pack.
It's been like 3 years since my last one, but I am finally back once again trying to make Minecraft into the most immersive VR experience possible. And honestly, I think this might be my best one yet. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how I went from this to this. And by watching this video to the very end, you'll know how to do it too.
First thing we have to do is take flat screen Minecraft and make it playable in VR. And for this I have some returning mods, but I'm also adding in some new ones. It should be no shock to anyone, but the foundation of this is obviously Vivecraft. This mod not only makes the game playable in virtual reality, but also adds motion controls, such as physically swinging to break blocks and attack enemies. You can also physically row boats, swim, and use your bow as well. And speaking of physical interactions, ImmersiveMC is making a return to this pack. This mod complements Vivecraft by adding a ton more motion-controlled physical interactions to the game. And since it's been so long since my last mod pack, they've added even more interactions. Starting with the features that we already know, this mod gives you a physical backpack that replaces your inventory, so you can physically store all of your items and also do basic crafting with it. And speaking of crafting, this mod makes all of it physical too. Crafting tables, furnaces, enchanting tables, all now can be interacted with physically, so no more floating menus. You can also eat and drink by holding the items up to your face. You can physically interact with buttons, levers, and you can also physically open doors and chests. You can equip armor now by physically putting it on your body, placing it roughly where it should go. And of course, you can hold food over a campfire now to cook it. Then we've got some of the newer features like physically turning the pages of a book to read it. You can physically scoop water into a bucket now. You can also now feed animals the same way you feed yourself, by simply physically holding it up to their faces. This mod also adds physical fishing, and my personal new favorite, you can physically pet your pets. Then we've got the new VR mods that weren't in my previous mod pack. VR Swing Sprint allows you to run faster by physically swinging your arms as if you were running in real life. If you've played Blade and Sorcery, you'll know what I'm talking about. VR Throwing Extension allows you to physically throw items. So if you wanted to throw your sword at an enemy, now you can. Then we have a set of VR mods that takes the relatively boring 2D items that you hold and makes them into 3D models and much more interesting to look at and hold. We've got Fresh Food VR, Fresh Buckets VR, Fresh Music Discs VR, Fresh Ores and Ingots VR, Better Fresher 3D Books VR, and Fresh Flowers and Plants VR. These mods are really cool, but I personally really like the Fresh Food VR mod, as when you hold the food up to your face to eat it, you can see these really cool animations like the bones in the chicken as you eat. And also the animated axolotl in the bucket is incredibly cute.
Okay, so now that we've added all of these really great VR mechanics to Minecraft, let's get to work on making the game into more of an adventure to play in VR. And to start, we're going to start with a category I'm calling World Generation and the Big Details.
First up, we've got Voxy. Obviously, I had to include this since my last Minecraft video, and if I'm being completely honest, it's kind of the reason I'm making this mod pack. It completely changes VR Minecraft, as the max render distance you could have with shaders on before this mod was like 15 chunks. And since I just mentioned it, Iris is making a return to this pack so that if your PC can handle it, you can use shaders. As for the shaders in this pack, I've included every one that I know works with Voxy. So you can try them all out for yourself to find out which one works best for you, but I personally really like the BSL shader, and through my testing in my Discord, the consensus was that this one works the best for VR. Then, to maximize the use of this extra render distance, I've added the classic Tectonic mod, which makes the world generation of Minecraft just way more grand, with natural looking biomes, mountain ranges, and rivers. The next mod that I've added attempts to address an issue that I've noticed previously when playing Minecraft in VR. When you're walking up blocks in Minecraft, it can feel quite jittery as you kind of just like pop onto the next block. So I wanted to see if there was a mod I could add to help alleviate that. And that's where the counted terrain slabs mod comes in. This makes it so when the world generates, it also has slabs. And I hope that it will make going up hills in VR a little less jittery and more smooth for you guys as you play. Also, if you combine this with Lambda Beta Grass, I think it makes the world way more varied and a bit nicer to look at. And then really quickly, to pair with the world generation stuff, I've included Voxy World Gen and Chunky to this pack. That way way you guys can pick which one you'd prefer to use, but I'll also talk more about these in my tutorial video releasing tomorrow.
So now that this mod pack has extremely long render distances and looks really good with shaders, I want to fill this world with large structures that you can see in the distance. And my hope is that that will encourage you as the players to go and explore. And one of my main ideas for this mod pack was to try and make Minecraft VR feel a bit like Zelda Breath of the Wild and make it almost feel like crafting a spyglass was a necessity. So let's go through those mods right now.
First up, I added Luki's Grand Capitals. This upgrades villages into larger, more town-like structures, each with their own unique style and loot. This mod also upgrades the Illager Outpost and Swamp Huts. Then, because this mod pack is on version 1.21.11, I couldn't add young structures to this pack. So instead, I've added the Dungeons and Taverns mods. The base mod adds over 30 structures to the Overworld, Nether, and End. And these vary from tiny structures like this well to some that are truly gigantic, such as the Lone Citadel. But I'm trying to avoid showing you all of these in this video as I kind of want you to go out and find them yourselves while you play. Then I've also added the Mineshaft, Stronghold, Ancient City, Desert Temple, Nether Fortress, Ocean Monument, and Swamp Hut Overhaul as well. So all of the base game structures have had a refresh too. I then added Grim Kingdom's Lost Structures and Ruins to the pack. This adds 17 medieval forts to the world, specifically on snow biomes. In my opinion, this pairs so well with Tectonic as you get these awesome ruins on the peak of the mountain ranges. Roguelike Dungeons is another one I decided to add, and like its name suggests, this mod adds these challenge dungeons to the world, which tend to spawn near villages and once again gives you one more reason to explore, as the loot you can get in these is pretty good. Then, seeing as we've made the overworld jam-packed with interesting things to explore, I wanted to do the exact same thing with the Nether. And I've done that with the Amethyst Nether mod. This mod kind of refreshes the Nether by adding biomes and structures while only using vanilla blocks. I also added the giant Nether tree mod as well, as someone in my Discord suggested it, and I think it looks pretty cool. So with all of these mods added, I put the headset back on to give it a try. Honestly, whoa, look at this. This is exactly the kind of thing that I wanted. Basically, I want to make it so this is kind of a necessity. I mean, like, look at that. The town looks interesting. There's so many interesting things for everyone to go and explore that you can now see in the distance in VR. I mean, what is that there? You can see there's some weird, like, temple-y type thing in the wall there. There's a tower off in the distance as well. It just fills the world and makes it feel way more alive. I'm super happy with that. I mean, look at that tower. That tower is literally something out of Breath of the Wild. That is Breath of the Wild right there. I mean, there's just so much to do and explore now. This is perfect. This is going swimmingly, I must say. In my opinion, the world now looks fantastic with lots of things for you to go out and discover.
Now, having said all of that, these big details are only good if we pay the same amount of attention to the smaller ones. So let's add some mods that do just that. And I've separated these mods and resource packs into 3 categories: player interactions, atmosphere and particles, and sound. Starting with player interactions, I'm going to quickly list off the mods that are returning from my previous mod pack.
Lamb Dynamic Lights mod makes it so the lights glow when you hold them. Then we've got the Physics mod. This one is the premier physics mod in my opinion. As we all know, it adds a ton of cool physics interactions to the game. Then we got Perfect Accuracy. This basically makes it so the bow doesn't have a random spread when you shoot it. In VR, I'm already inaccurate enough with my shaky hands. Next up, we have Harvest with Ease. Basically, this mod makes it so when you harvest a crop, a new one is planted automatically. 3D Skin Layers is also making a return. We all know this one. It makes it so your avatars are a bit more 3D. Then we have Fresh Animations, which isn't really a player interaction resource pack, but I'm including it here because it is one when it's paired with a new mod called Visual Health. Now, not only do mob animations look really good in VR, but when you damage a mob, you can see how much damage you've done to them as they actually start to crack and break. Pretty cool. And while we're talking about mob interactions, I've also added Stormy Spiders. This is a fork of Nif spiders, and in my opinion, it works a little bit better. And it basically makes the spider animations look more realistic. They crawl properly on the walls and ceilings. One issue with the world generating slabs is that you can't place things on them. Well, the Slabbed mod fixes that exact issue. Having said that, we have noticed in our testing that this mod does seem to cause some graphical issues, especially in ice biomes. The devs are currently working on a fix, but for now you can just turn this mod off if you want to in the menu. Torches Reimagined is an awesome addition to this pack. It makes the torches go from looking like a glow stick to having an actual fire animation when it's held in your hand and when you place it. And I think it looks so much better than the original. In Ryan's VR Experience 2, we had a mod called HT Tree Chop. which at the time was the best mod I could find for chopping trees more realistically. Well, now we have a massive upgrade to that with the timber physics mod. Now when you chop a tree, you can actually see the tree fall over, and in my opinion it falls over in a very Minecrafty way. And I personally really prefer this to my previous mod pack. The next mod that I wanted to add was called Seamless Sleep, which I thought was really cool. This mod makes it so when you go to bed, it does this really nice sped up time-lapse style animation. And as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to try to see if it would work in VR. But unfortunately, when I tried it, the screen went really dark due to a texture in Vivecraft.
But you know, I didn't really want to give up on this because I think it's a really cool mod. So I asked the devs in the Vivecraft Discord if there was anything I could do to fix it. And they very kindly explained to me that if I made a resource pack, it should fix the problem. So I'm happy to say that this mod pack also includes my first ever resource pack, which I have very cleverly named Ryan's Seamless Sleep Vivecraft Compatibility Resource Pack, or RSVCP for short.
And now when you sleep in VR, the screen no longer goes dark and you can watch the smooth transition from night to day. And I think this is way more immersive than the game just suddenly becoming daytime. Next up, I added a mod called Wakes, and as the name suggests, when you move or a mob moves through water, you get this really nicely animated wake behind you. And the same goes for when you're in a boat too. And speaking of leaving things behind you, the footprint particle mod makes it so when you're walking on certain surfaces, you leave these little square footprints. And this also works for mobs too. Next, we've got the immersive hotbar mod. This one's a small mod and it adds these little animations to your hotbar. And I've checked, it works on the hotbar that's on your wrist when you're in VR. It's not a groundbreaking mod by any means, but it does make your wrist hotbar that tiny little bit more satisfying.
Now, really quickly, I want to talk about a couple of mods that I've added as a just in case. I know there might be some people that don't enjoy the physical crafting and backpack system from ImmersiveMC. And for those people, you can still use the normal default windows that kind of pop up when you right-click the controller. But I want this mod pack to make VR improved for every player. So these mods are for those people.
First, we've got the Immersive Interfaces Resource Pack, and this makes every crafting and inventory window unique depending on the block. This is what the inventory window looks like, and this is what it looks like when you're using a crafting table. It just adds a bit of variety for those that don't want to use the physical item management system. Then I've also added the Inventory Particles mod, and this adds these cool little trails behind items as you move them about in the windows. Again, a small mod, but it makes sorting your inventory that bit more satisfying.
Alright, that is all of the interaction mods and resource packs added. I personally am really happy with it. I think all the mods that I've added really interact well with virtual reality. So let's not waste any more time and move on to the next section, which is atmosphere and particles.
First up, we got cozy critters and creepy crawlies. This mod adds birds to the overworld, spiders to mine shafts, and also makes it so moths can spawn on your torches at night. At first, this mod was a bit distracting as there were way too many birds spawning, they were too close, and because they were 2D sprites, they didn't look realistic. But that's why we've customized the config here so there are way less birds spawning and they also spawn far away. And now I feel like they really add to the atmosphere quite well and make the world feel more alive. Blinking ender eyes is next, and again it does what it says on the tin and makes the ender eyes blink when they're in your hand or when they've been placed. And I gotta say, these eyes must be very dry because they are blinking like crazy. The explosive enhancement mod upgrades the animation of TNT and creeper explosions quite nicely, and the tight fire mod does the exact same thing with fires and makes them look way nicer in my opinion. Next up is the make bubbles pop mod, which basically makes the bubble animations a bit more realistic as they rise to the surface. The wet sand mod is pretty cool and it makes the sand react realistically when it's next to water. Basically, over time, the sand will get more and more wet. Then the swinging lanterns mod does exactly what it says on the tin, makes lanterns swing when they are hung properly. And they actually swing more when there's a storm, which is pretty great for immersion. Then we have some particle mods. Visuality is making a return here. This mod adds some nice particles such as crystal sparkles, armor sparkles, and particles when you hit certain mobs. The particle interactions mod adds more interactions into the game, such as when you place or step on blocks, wind appears behind you when you sprint, sparks emit from flint and steel, campfires and furnaces, and probably my favorite, sparks fly from Minecraft wheels, and many more. Then also really quick, I've noticed one more which I want to mention in this video is when you're in a snowy or cold area, your character will actually breathe and emit breathing steam particles, which is really cool for immersion. Next up is the subtle effects mod. This one, as the name suggests, adds some more subtle details to the world. Some really cool examples of this is any flames will now emit embers. Certain blocks will also emit dust particles, and my personal favorite, when you or a mob sleeps, they'll emit these sleeping Z particles, which I think pairs perfectly with seamless sleep. The Immersive Storms mod will add these subtle and immersive fog and particle effects to biomes based on the weather. Now, it's important to note if you have shaders on, you won't be able to see the fog, but you'll still see the particles. And I particularly love this mod because it adds these wind particles that you can see during the day when it's not stormy. And I feel this specific particle really adds to the atmosphere in a lot of situations. And seeing as we're talking about weather, the particle rain mod replaces the default weather with improved particle effects. Rain will now create ripples on water, water streaks on windows, as well as adding some really spooky mist after rainfall. And the final particle mod that is making a return is Particular Reforged. This adds visual effects like splashes in water that vary depending on the speed and size of the object hitting the water, fireflies, waterfall cascades, cave dust, and more. And I think this pairs really well with the Wakes mod. Moving on, we now have some mods and resource packs that affect plants and trees. Starting with Bee's Fancy Crops, which adds variation to the crops in the game. Bushy pink petals, wildflowers, and leaf litter basically makes the leaf litter that's on the floor in the world 3D, and it makes the biomes with trees feel much more realistic. Dense flowers makes it so more than one flower can spawn on a block, leading to much more variance and variety in the world. The Falling Leaves mod does exactly as it says. The Mickey Jones resource pack takes all of the standard flowers and revitalizes them and makes them look so much better in my opinion. O's Colorful Grasses does the exact same thing, but for grass. It gives the grass different colors and lengths, which again adds to the variety of the world. The Retextured Vine resource pack makes the vines look more 3D, which is a nice change. And Snow Under Trees again does exactly what it says on the tin and adds snow under the trees. Then the final visual mod I want to mention in this mod pack is one I found quite late just before I submitted it. And honestly, I think it's pretty cool. It's called Ripple, and it makes it so your body interacts with particles. So for example, if you were running through firefly particles, they would now move and respond to your body as if they would in real life. And this goes for any particle in the game, including some of the flowers. It just adds that little bit more interactability, which really helps sell the world while you're in VR.
And that is all of the atmosphere and particle mods added. I think they make a massive impact to the world. So let's move on to the final section of this video. Last but not least, the sound mods.
The Vocal Villagers pack adds a ton of extra villager noises to the game, making them feel much more alive. The Sounds mod adds sound effects for things like the hotbar, which, as you can't see the hotbar all the time in VR, I thought would be quite useful. That way you get audio cues as you switch between things. Next up, we have Sound Physics Remastered. We all know this one. It adds realistic physics for sound. So for example, if you walk into a cave, you'll hear reverb as you walk. And again, speaking of, Presence Footsteps is the next mod, another classic. This mod makes it so the sounds of your footsteps change depending on the block you're stepping on. Next up is Gentler Weather Sounds. This one makes it so storms are a little bit less jarring and a bit nicer to listen to. Now this one's gonna shock everyone. The Drip Sounds mod adds drip sounds when water or lava is dripping from something. Again, it just adds a bit more realism to the game. Next, we have probably my favorite addition to the sounds mods, Cool Rain. This mod makes it so the rain droplet noises change depending on what it's hitting. So for example, if you have a metal roof over your house, you will hear a completely different sound to if you have a wooden roof. And honestly, that adds so much to immersion. And last but not least, we have the Atmosphera mod. Ambient sounds wasn't available on this version of Minecraft, but you know what? I'm totally okay with that because we get this instead. It basically does the same thing. It makes biome sounds different and more realistic, but also adds the really nice library of music, which really reminds me of Zelda.
And that, my friends, is my new VR mod pack, Ryan Clifford's VR Experience number 3. Honestly, I'm really happy with it. I think it is such a major and substantial improvement over my previous VR Experience mod pack. I think it achieves exactly what I wanted it to and turns Minecraft into a really beautiful, atmospheric, and satisfying VR experience. I ended up putting a ton of work into this pack. I even got 30 members of my Discord to playtest it for me. That way we could get rid of as many bugs as possible for release. And I did that because I wanted this mod pack to be as perfect as possible for you guys. So I want to say a massive thank you to them for doing that, but I also want to say a big thank you to you for watching this video. I feel so incredibly lucky and privileged to be able to make these packs for you guys. As you may or may not know, my first video that went viral on this YouTube channel was when I did my first video turning Minecraft into a VR game. So, you know, I have a big responsibility here, and I really hope you guys will enjoy this mod pack as much as I enjoyed making it. I've uploaded this mod pack, Ryan Clifford's VR Experience number 3, to Modroom for you all to download, and a link to that will be in the description of this video. Now, if you're worried about how your PC will handle this mod pack, I've got you covered. Tomorrow on this channel, I'm going to be releasing a tutorial video for this mod pack. And that's going to go through how to install the mod pack, as well as how to get the best performance out of this mod pack, ranging from high spec PCs all the way to low spec. Because my other goal with having those playtesters was to make this mod pack playable for as many people as possible. So yeah, if you don't want to miss that, feel free to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the notification. Or alternatively, you can go join my Discord, which it will be linked in the description, and I always post an announcement when I make a new video. And then the final thing that I want to mention is I'm going to be live streaming myself playing this mod pack on my YouTube and Twitch later on today. You know, I've spent so long making and testing this pack, now I just want to spend some time enjoying it with you guys. So feel free to drop by, say hello, and tell me what you think of the pack. But yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and a hype if you feel like it, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.